About this love. About this. About this love. About this love. Love. How you guys doing today? You are tuning into About This Love podcast with myself, Del Skinner, and my wife, Charel.
Hey.
Again, as always, please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Audio Mac. And you can also stream our podcast from these sites as well. Thank you for your support. For today's topic is relationship maturity. Just I guess just kind of the different facets that could take, whether that's age or experience or just culture. I would say, because I think that you could probably fit some in all of that, with its culture, age, experience, and a lot of those have a lot to do with, I guess, individuals, their mindset as it relates to understanding relationships and commitments. So I let my missus start it off today.
Oh, well, you pretty much, said everything in a nutshell there. We could just kind of wrap it up right now.
You're funny.
Just kidding. The other day today, actually.
Well, the other day too, but I fell asleep. So yeah.
Yes. So the other day for me, I was watching How Stella Got Her Groove Back. And, we were just talking about Angela Bassett and how old she is. And I was just saying how she's been married for a long time. But not to get into all of that, it led us to watching, How Stella Got Her Groove Back. And so, of course, Dale, you fell asleep on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a good movie. I think I watched it when I was a little bit younger. Didn't really remember the plot line. I just know she went to Jamaica and got a groove on. And I think that was like the gist of it that I remembered. But watching it now, I was like, wow, this is actually a good topic to touch on and, something to talk about. And so, I urge you, Dale, to go back and watch it. And then, of course, the discussion kind of sparked off from there once, the last scene and the credits started rolling. But basically, if you hadn't seen that movie, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. Angela Bassett goes to Jamaica, meets a younger guy.
She's 41 years old. She leaves that out. She's 41 years old, and she meets a guy who's 20 years old. Continue.
I didn't leave that out. I was getting to it. But yes, and so her biggest thing throughout this entire movie that it seemed to me was that, she kept saying, I'm your mother's age. I'm your mother's. She's actually 40. The mother was 41. The guy's mother was 41. And so she's like, I'm old enough to be your mother.
Well, when they first met initially at breakfast, she told him she was 41.
No, she said she was 40, Dale. The mother said that, well, whatever. Either way, she's 40, she's 40 in her 40s and he's in his early 20s.
No, he's 20.
Okay, he's 20. He's fresh off of the teenage boat. And basically throughout the movie, it just, to me, it reflected the differences in age and the differences in mindset and maturity when it comes to, a relationship. Because even though this guy was 20 years old, her junior, and Angela Bassett in the movie had like such a great career and she was established, had a child, had a home, ex-husband, I felt that this 20-year-old was able to rise to the occasion. Now, Dale, what did you say when we were talking about it? You were like, once the movie went off, you said in real life, that wouldn't be the reality. Like someone that young wouldn't, be that mature or mature enough to handle like a woman that's 40 years old.
That's not what I said. What I said was, depending on the person's culture and the country that they come from. I said, because I've went to trade school with people from different countries, and because of their upbringing and just hearing them tell me about their upbringing, a lot of them were a lot mature for their age than you would have thought. A lot of them actually were so mature that you probably could have thought they were like 25, 26 years old. That's just how mature they were. So I said it probably wouldn't be like an everyday thing where it can happen every day, but I do feel like that, in the right situation, the right circumstance, that it actually could work out. But again, it would have to be a level of maturity from the person that's 20 from the person that's younger. Because I mean, like I told my wife when we were watching the movie, I said let's go ahead and keep it 100. We know people are with people 20 years old now or 18 years old now, but it's not about love. It's about sex. Like I mean, it's all about sexual favors. So I mean, it's not like it doesn't happen now. It happens now all the time. When I was in high school, I had cousins who were in high school messing with guys in college or messing with guys who were in the military, and they were like 20, 21, and they are just turned 17, 18 years old. So again, people do it every day, but it's more so around sex than it is actual love and commitment. And in the movie, one of the things that you see is that the gentleman who's played by Taye Diggs is that he proposed to her, and so from what the movie dynamic was and what I observed from it, he was very mature for his age.
Yeah, because remember, I'm sorry to cut you off, but remember I asked you, was that an honorable thing for him to step up and ask her to marry him?
I mean, I don't think it's that. I mean, I just think any man that sees a woman on the market that he's engaging with, spending time with, that he feels like he wants and needs in his life, he'll propose to her. That's any man. So I mean, I feel like he saw something in her that he liked and loved, and I don't think it was her money, because I don't think he probably knew she had money from the beginning when they first met and initially met. So you really couldn't make that argument because he didn't know she had money until he actually came to America and spent time with her, but
I mean, well, by the time he went to America, she had lost her job. I never thought that it was about money.
No, I didn't either, but I'm saying some people will make the argument that it's about money.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, well, the reason why he proposed is...
Well, no, the reason why he wanted to be with her, period.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, in most cases, because remember, there was another movie on Netflix that I guess came out, I don't know, a minute ago. It was like How to Be a Latin Lover. And so it was basically the young guy with this much older woman, but
she was a senior citizen.
Yeah, she was a senior citizen. I mean, but they showed that they were married for 11 years. And he was just, this woman was rolling in dough. I think she owned a couple of grocery store chains or something like that. And you could tell that he definitely, he heard that she was, she owned grocery stores or something to that effect, and that she had a lot of money. And so he had went for that. He had went after that. And I think once she left him and divorced him, he went on a hunt to find like another, geriatric patient, somebody that was a rich and, well, not just rich, but a wealthy
senior citizen, yeah.
A wealthy senior citizen, a wealthy woman that didn't require much of him. But and Stella, how Stella got her groove back, Stella definitely required a lot from Taye Diggs. Like, she was just, one argument that came up when they were at dinner, or when the bill came and it came time to pay, Stella, they kind of looked at each other and Stella kind of went off. And I like the argument that Taye Diggs made, which was, what do you want me to be? Sometimes you want me to be a boy. Sometimes you want me to be a man. Which one is it? I guess you can see the conflict that he was having within himself and the conflict that Stella was having, I guess, with the relationship. She just wasn't totally comfortable with the relationship.
Well, I mean, I think his conflict was coming from her. He didn't really have a conflict as it related to being with the older woman. She had the conflict because she was uncomfortable at times around people in public. I guess he kind of felt that, and he kind of got tensed as well. But I don't think he ever cared about her age. She cared about her age because of, people would say things to her like, "Oh, he's old enough you're old enough to be his mother." So I think to her that was kind of an insult. I mean, and I guess it would be to anybody, but I mean, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, no, I really think that for her, it was a good time. I think it just goes to show, just because she was in her 40s, it was a good time. He was a good time. I won't say she was fresh off of a divorce, but she was a divorcee, lost her job, lost her friend. Workaholic. Yeah. Workaholic. And basically, he just presented a good time, something different, fresh, playful, and it's things that we kind of lose over time. I feel as though when we throw ourselves into work, and her even going to Jamaica, she's seen it as, okay, well, this is something different. This is out of my element. And you could tell that she was slowly trying to let her guard down. But still, when they entered into like a serious relationship where he moved in with her back in America, I did feel like, for her, he was still a good time. But for him, he started to, in his own way, in the way that he can process it, he thought that he was building something with her. And, I thought this was a great conversation to, kind of have on the podcast, because it's like, how many times do we see like the scenario of of a couple who have different, different ages. There's that age gap.
And cultures as well.
And cultures.
He was Jamaican.
Well, yes, and cultures. And then they wind up in a relationship, and it's almost like, well, for me, I'm just having a good time until this blows over, or until I find something different. For him, it was, hey, I'm at your house, I'm meeting your family, I met the ex-husband, I met I'm bonding with your son. I want to have children. Because at one point he said, I want to have kids. I see myself with you. And I don't even think she really responded. I think it was kind of like, yeah, well, she did respond. It was like, yeah, well, that's not going to happen. And it's like, are those relationships worth even pursuing? And this is, this is what I'm asking you, Dale. Like, are those relationships worth pursuing because of the age gap? Or do you think that, honestly, you can work through that?
I mean, there's definitely, I'll say a difference in, I guess a difference in age, a difference in mindsets. And I guess it could work. I feel like, and this is just my opinion, because I know a lot of people may hear this and not and disagree.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, like I will say, like I said before, this is a disclaimer, like in the average cases, this probably wouldn't work. Like it'll probably just be for sex. Let's go ahead and again call a spade a spade. In the real world, it would probably just be some older woman, getting her sexual needs met by some young boy, and vice versa. If it was a young girl, it'd be some older man getting his sexual needs met by some young girl. I mean, it is what it is. But I think for specific situations and specific circumstances, I believe that it could work. But I'm a big proponent of having the conversations. Like again, she's 41 years old. So if something like this was to be successful, one of the things that I would say is that, like, she's 41 years old. So at that age, she's probably had all the kids that she wants to have, that she want to have. So if it's somebody who doesn't want any kids, okay, then it'd be cool. You know what I'm saying? Because I think about it, like, and about what, about 8-9 years, she'll be going through menopause.
I mean,
I'm just right now. I'm just being like realistic. And then he'll be 30 years old. Like kind of in his prime, but him getting older as well, like kind of stepping into like actual manhood when you start to feel changes in your body. But so, I just feel like in the real world, yes, it could happen, but there would need to be some serious conversations and some serious sitting down, thinking things out, and just having practical conversations. You know what I'm saying? But for like an everyday case scenario, no, I don't think it could work at all. No.
I don't know. I mean, I was trying to, while you were talking, I was trying to think of some examples.
Tammy, from Basketball Wives and her husband.
Oh, I mean, I guess so.
Do you see?
I don't know. I don't really know the dynamics of their relationship.
Either.
No. But I'm trying to think. Well, I know you thought of them because they're someone who kind of put their relationship on the forefront in the public eye. The person I thought about was Mariah Carey and Nick Cannon, but they're divorced.
But they wasn't they wasn't no 20-some years apart though.
I mean, either way, either way, it was just that there was someone who was significantly older, and that was made known, like in the media, like, oh no, she's so much older, with this young man, and what does he have to offer? But then now you see Nick Cannon, now that they're divorced, and not to say that this wasn't taking place within their marriage, but you see Nick Cannon kind of making a lot of wise decisions business wise. And not to say that, that business decisions translate to relationships.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you start to hear people say, oh, now I see what people thought of, or what Mariah had thought of about Nick Cannon, or what she's seen in Nick Cannon, because, he's got all of this going on for himself. And, we just see Mariah as a big star. And I think like in the everyday world, you translate that to, I'm the older the older person in this relationship, and
They were 10 years apart. I just looked it up.
who?
Mariah Carey and Nick Cannon, they're 10 years apart.
Yeah, so it's just.
I don't think that's a. I mean, I don't think that 10 years is really like a big deal. Like,
Dale, it could, depending on the maturity level, it could be a big difference.
Yeah, I'm talking about from that perspective, yeah. But I'm saying like 10 years is not like really a big deal if you want to be honest. Like, it's funny because I was thinking about like, I remember like some like family friends who had children who used to be like younger than me, but then when you start getting older, you're like, oh man, like they like when you're young, like 4 or 5 years seems like a lot. But when you start to get older, you're like, oh man, she's 25 or she's 26 and I'm 30. It's like, yeah, it's not really a big age difference as you get older and you start to see people's maturity level. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah. But when you're a kid, 4 or 5 years seem like old.
It's like, oh, they a baby.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, hold on, Dale. But these are decades apart. Like, yes, it doesn't make a difference as far as like when you are an adult. But I think like when you're decades apart, there's different hoops that you have to jump through. Like culturally, like one thing that Stella has said, going back to the movie, one thing that, Stella had said in the movie was, oh, well, you think a good time is bringing home, I forget what movie she
some booty call in The Lion King.
Booty call in The Lion King and eating Cheerios. And the funny thing is, I thought to myself, like, there's some grown men who are probably 40 that still do that. So
watching Booty Call in Lion King. So I mean,
and eating cereal.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the age really made a difference, but in her mind it did, and especially amongst her colleagues. And I think she was at a work event and he was kind of sitting to the side talking like a little boy, but it's almost like, I think it takes a level of confidence as well to kind of rise to the occasion, and also building up your person, like while you're courting them, like building them up, like, hey, if this is who you say you are, like, you're with me. You don't have to question. Because I think that not immaturity, but that insecurity can still be there no matter the age difference, really.
But one of the things that I observed about the movie that bothered me, not like really that I care, but I've noticed that oftentimes, because I think that's just kind of the way I think, is that like I don't really care much about people's opinions. And I'm not really bothered by much about people's opinions or what they think unless I ask people, unless the people that I love and are dear to me. I don't really care about people's opinions. But so Stella, the majority of the movie, like, to be honest, Stella, she was cool with it. But I think that the fact that people kept reminding her of how old she was, the fact that the world around her kept reminding her of how old she was, she began to feel uncomfortable about it. But I felt like if there had not been any outside sources telling her, "Oh, you're 40 years old, you robbing the cradle, or you a cougar," then she may not have really cared, to be honest. Because I mean, to be honest, like from my perspective, again, this is my perspective. If you are a 40-year-old woman or 20-year-old guy, whatever, if you guys are really in love and if it's pure, then I mean, again, this is my opinion. Like, what's wrong with that? Now, I mean, if y'all doing what grown folks do, then I mean, hey, look, again, it's your business. Like, I don't really care. Like, I don't really care about what people do. I mean, we all know people doing it anyways. It's kind of, to me, it's kind of similar, but not quite the same as marrying outside your race. Like, I think there's some people in my family who marry outside the race, and people in the family would always be like, "Oh, well, he came home with that white woman." It's like it doesn't matter where you go. People are gonna always remind you.
That's what I was going to say.
People are gonna always remind you when you do something that's out of the norm, even if it was an Asian guy. Oh, she came home with Jackie Chan. It's like, again, people always gonna remind you when you do something that's out of the norm. That's not the usual. They're gonna remind you of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's great that you say that, because I was going to say, like, it doesn't matter, well, unless it's somebody that's clearly like too young for you, still a child.
Yeah, I mean,
most
that's
definitely. But
yeah.
As for adults, it doesn't matter. Like, I feel like the world will pressure you. I mean, especially when it's something that you're moving towards marriage. I just feel like the world just wants to tear down marriage. Like, the enemy does not want to see successful marriages, healthy relationships. But because even if you guys were the same age, your family would find, like, anybody's family or anybody's friends or whatever would find anything.
They're gonna find something
They're going to
wrong.
find
Yeah.
anything to try to tear you apart. Now, some things I will say is valid. Some things you do need to really consider. I mean, and really take into account, like, okay, this person lives in California and you live in DC. Is that really going to work for you guys to get married? Or are you going to up and leave? Or are they going to up and leave? You guys both have like careers or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there would just be anything to, anything, they'll pit anything against the person that you're seeking to, spend your life with and build a lasting relationship with, because that's just what the world does. Like, just, our jobs pull us away from our relationship, our friends, our family, whether they know it, whether they do it directly or indirectly. And it's almost like you have to still turn back into your person. You have to turn back into your spouse and into the person that you're building a relationship with every time. Because even when, I was a teenager, like, you remember, Dale, like, as the pressure of like, oh, you tied down, you whipped, because you're in a relationship as a teenager. And it's kind of like,
I was never really in a relationship as a teenager, so I can't answer that question.
Oh, well, I remember hearing people say
I like
that.
girls, but I never really dated.
Okay. That's right. You said that before. But I'm just saying, but you haven't heard people like, well, I remember hearing people as a teenager say things like that, like, oh, well, that person's going to tie you down or this and that. And it's almost like, when you think about it, it's kind of like, we're so against building relationships anyways. Like, the world is so against building.
I mean, I would agree though. I mean, as a 30-year-old man, like, knowing what me and my friends were doing as a teenager, like, I would totally agree. And only because, like, when you're a teenager, it's probably the age where hormones are raging. It's like like at 15 and 16 years old, like, you ain't build nothing. Like, let's go ahead and keep it 100. Like, you ain't trying to build nothing.
Well, hold on. What about the people that got married out of high school? They were high school sweethearts.
I mean, that's probably like less than 1% of the world. If you want to be honest, that's less than 1% of the world.
Like, if they're not, you said the world. I'm just talking about of like maybe America, because
but again,
because
that's
people
still,
are arranged.
That's still less than 1% though. Like that's not like when you say things like that, like, that's less than 1%. It's kind of like I was listening to a podcast and somebody was like, well, yeah, to say that you can rap and make it out the hood, like no, you are part of the 1%. No, that's not that does not happen. That does not happen every day. It doesn't. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, like, it's not. That's not like a everyday thing where it's like, oh man, because that was the case, everybody in high school would be getting married. So that's not the case. All I'm saying is that at the age of 15 and 16 years old, you're not really thinking about trying to build a long-term relationship. Now, if by chance you are one of those less than 1%, then praise be to God to you. But more than likely, it's hormones are raging, it's lust. You see somebody that's cute, they think you cute. Y'all start kissing and holding hands and doing whatever teenagers do, and it's like it is what it is. But don't be. But I'm not going to be sitting here and be like, nah, yeah, I was trying to get. No, I wasn't trying to get married when I was 15, 16 years old. That wasn't even on my mind.
But you know what?
Something was on my mind, but that wasn't one of it. That wasn't one of it.
I think it goes back to what you were saying about culture. Like, if you were raised in an area where that's just the norm. I can't remember the name of the show, but I think it's called Arrange. And I believe I had brought it up before in a previous podcast. But basically, disclaimer: Baby Bump is in the studio. If you hear grunts and noises, we should have said it earlier. Sorry. Back to Arrange. In the show, there was these, I think they're Romanian. I believe that's what they are, Romanian. There was this young couple who was arranged, and they were, I believe, arranged to be married. I believe they were 17 or 18 years old, or the boy was 18, the girl was 17. But I think there's still that law that you can be married at that age.
13 in some countries, yeah. In some countries, you are legally grown you are, adults who can be married at 13 years old, yeah.
Yes, so I've read that somewhere before. But yes, but they're in America. They're actually
well, I don't know about America. They can't get married at 13 years old in America.
No, they're not 13. No, they're not 13. But I'm saying that they're living in America. But basically, it was at the reunion of the show, and they have these older couples who are like in their mid-20s who were also supposedly arranged to be married, who were showcased on the show. But they had questioned them and kind of went through their journey. And it seemed like the younger couple struggled so much throughout the show to kind of get their groove because they were arranged and because they were so young. And, their culture was to take a step back and let them figure it out on their own. Like they would kind of aid them through it, but and when it got out of hand, then they would step in and kind of speak to the husband or speak to the wife and say, hey, you can't just do that. It's not going to work. You guys aren't going to fall in love that way. I bring them up because at the reunion, when they were just talking about how things were going since the show ended, that couple, out of all the couples, the younger couple, they seemed more mature. They seemed like it seemed like they were kind of going through it a lot better, if that makes sense. And they knew a lot more about each other, and they kind of appreciated each other a lot more. And I won't say it was because they were young. I will, attribute that to their culture and also to, their circumstance. And I guess how they were shaped and formed and molded by the older couples.
By the culture, yeah.
Yes, and their culture, yes. And so I do agree with what you said in the beginning of this conversation. Just, with culture, with your circumstance, you probably had to take on a much more, difficult responsibility growing up. So maybe coming out of high school, you are ready to start a family and get married. You think about the kids, the woman over in Africa who, was married at a younger age. I think about, my mentor back in the day, I believe she had maybe 2 kids and was married by the age of 16, but I believe she's close to 80 right now. So definitely the times were different.
Yeah, I mean, my aunt, one of my aunts was married at I think like 17, 18 years old. She met her husband. I think they had known each other for like 2, 3 months,
Hmm.
and they're still married to this day. But again, you talking about a different culture. Like today, like I was thinking to myself as you were talking about the couple that had the arranged marriage. I'm like, I believe that could happen, but again, that's less than 1%. Or I'll say a specific culture or cultures, because I'll say it like this right here. Like I, I'll I know people that I've met who have arranged marriages in the sense that, I have to marry I have to marry people within my own culture.
Hmm.
And then like when you actually like get to know them and talk to them and find out that they're like they're into like black women. It's like, well, but your wife is A, B, C, and D, but your wife is A, B, C, and that. Like she ain't black. So my only problem with arranged marriages is that being arranged to somebody or being married to somebody that was arranged is like, but you're in a world full of different people of different cultures, of different women of different ethnic groups. It's like me and you, like we chose to fall in love, but if we were arranged, like would I mean, I'm not saying it can't work, because I believe it can work. But again, when someone is arranged to marry somebody and they see somebody who's of a different ethnic group, a different culture that they're mesmerized by, what's to keep them from engaging in a relationship with them? Because
You
again,
talking about while already being married,
yeah,
or
because
before getting married?
no, why married? Because again, I was arranged married to you. I didn't choose you.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? So I think that it's kind of like believers living in a world full of temptation and sin, living for God, but they're still choosing to engage in sinful activities because it's there, it's all around me. So I think it can work, but as the Bible says, it's a very narrow and small gate to go through. But I believe, yes, it can work.
I think it can. If you're surrounded, if that's your culture and there are things put in place, you know what I'm saying? We talk about the culture of our home and things that we will put in place for our children, not necessarily arranged marriages, but the things that you and I do speak about, like, okay, we want to put in place like certain rules in our home, and certain I guess
But
certain
we were
things that they would experience in our home.
but we weren't arranged though.
I'm not talking about arranged marriages now. I'm just talking about things being put in place for certain culture, in a certain culture. We talk about the culture of our home, and basically just the things that we said that we're going to put in place in those different cultures. Things are being put in place, so that, I mean, in the same, like you talk about somebody who's walking in faith. It's like you can't just think that you're going to go out there and walk by faith alone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
By yourself. And so there are things that are put in place. There are people put in place to, you know, remind you, to sharpen you, because iron sharpens iron. And there's things that are put in place to remind you, to sharpen you. I mean, same with marriage. Like, you don't think that you're gonna be married and be around a bunch of single people and think that you're not gonna look elsewhere.
I'll say this right here. Like, yes, culture and influence is very strong, and the majority of the time, the people that do put their faith and trust in God, He keeps them. But in my honest opinion, culture is not strong enough to keep me from doing something that I want to do. But the Lord is. Like, I was as you were talking, I was watching this video of a girl, two friends that were arranged married. But I was watching this. It was like a YouTube channel, and the guy, they were Arabic. Well, so we saw East. Is it? Yeah. Well, they were Arabic. Arabic, but and they were in their Muslim attire. But the guy wanted to see if his wife would cheat or whatever, and they hired this like big muscle bound guy to seduce the women. It was her and one of her friends, and they were touching his chest.
Oh, I see.
And then he took his shirt off.
No, the one woman did not touch him.
Well, yeah,
she was like, no.
Was the one who
it was
married?
The one that was married was like,
yeah.
no.
No. The one who was married was touching him. It was the friend who didn't touch him, because the husband was like, "What are you doing?" You know. But my point being is, again, I don't care what culture you grow up in. I just don't put that much faith. I don't put that much faith in people. I put it in God, but I don't put it in people. Because I mean, again, when ain't nobody around, when ain't nobody looking, people will do the unthinkable, and that's a fact. You know, that's a fact. You know, but for those who are believers and who put their trust and faith in God, I think that God is strong enough to keep them. You know, for those who want to be kept. So I think when it comes just back to the conversation about I guess dating someone older or younger, or just arranged marriages in general. What I'm saying, what does matter is the maturity of the parties involved. Because of course, you know, like I said before, it definitely can work, whether it's arranged or an older woman dating a younger man. It definitely can work, but again, there would need to be some really, really serious and long conversations about that. And again, just thank you guys for tuning in today about this love. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Please share, like, comment. Let us know if there's some topics that we haven't touched on yet that you would like us to talk about. And please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also view our podcast or listen to our podcast on YouTube, Audio Mac, and Facebook. And again, thank you for rocking with us today about this love. Peace.